What happens when you teach a genuine jiu-jitsu monster Aikido?
He just monsters everybody, just everybody. And he's English, so he's like inherently miserable.
And what happens when you put those techniques up against a legitimate jiu-jitsu black belt?
You alright, Lucky?
Yeah, my wrist hurts.
I'm going to be taking this monster through 3 Aikido techniques and some principles. I'll pin him up against a legit black belt, and then I myself will face the same black belt to showcase some Aiki Judo Jitsu. First, let's meet the monster.
Alright, we're rolling.
What's your name, Sammy?
What's my name, Sammy?
Yeah, what's your name?
Are you asking? Right, my name is Sam McCarthy.
How long have you been training martial arts altogether?
Look, you asked me mad questions. So I first started doing martial arts about 21 years ago.
And what martial arts is that?
I started off training karate when I was around 11 for a few years, then I quit. Did a little bit of kickboxing and boxing, and then I did not train for a while, and then started jiu-jitsu about 12 years ago.
Don't mind Sam's sweet demeanor. You're about to find out why everybody calls him a monster.
One word to describe Sam McCarthy.
Strong as
That's 3 words. What's 2 words to describe Sam McCarthy?
monstrous.
That's 1 word. Come on.
Yeah, he's very strong, but he's strong because he understands mechanics and body placement. He's phenomenally technical. He's just a beast, mate. He's a beast. And he's English, so he's like inherently miserable. He just monsters everybody, just everybody.
Dominance MMA is home to some of the best in the world, so those words from Coach Dave are not said lightly. We are going to be looking at some wrist locks, some takedowns, and some principles of Aikido in grappling. I've spent years playing with this unique style of combining Aikido, Judo, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I have a lot of resources coming out soon. So make sure you follow me here and on Instagram so you don't miss out. But before we see these techniques live, I have to teach them to the monster. Kotegaishi, which translates to wrist return. So the idea of this technique opens with a common grip in Jiu-Jitsu, which is a reverse wrestling grip. Yeah, where my thumb's on the back of my partner's pinky and my fingers are collecting my partner's thumb. In Jiu-Jitsu or more modern martial arts, you would use this to dig out an underhook and then do whatever you want. But in the context of Aikido here, I'm using this to off-balance my partner and start to attack the wrist. Yeah, so if I'm defending by flaring my fingers, and my partner would just dig out an underhook, that's it, and then he'll start to belt me, right? If Sammy's got a hold of you here, it's over. If I'm not exposing the underhook here and I'm bringing my hand into the fight, this is when my partner would turn, that's it, my pinky out, exposing the back of my wrist, and then he would run his fingers on my fingers, that's it, and start to lock me. So when we're doing this technique statically, my partner would be coming forward. That's it here. But because Sammy's a powerhouse and a martial arts genius, he was already using those body movements of like breaking my posture and using footwork to take me out of my center and throw me. So in Aikido, it would look something like this. Just do what you did before, yeah. That's it, yeah. Where you have to fall out of the technique in order to stop your partner from breaking your wrist. If you do it again and I don't fall, that's it, yeah. This puts an extreme amount of pressure on my wrist. In Jiu-Jitsu, if we stay here, most people just concede the bottom position by falling to their back. But with a lot of training, if Samuel just cranked it, you would just destroy my wrist. Kotegaishi has got to be one of the most translatable techniques from Aikido to Jiu-Jitsu. However, it requires a strong base in Jiu-Jitsu so that you can support the technique with strong, intelligent, fundamental grappling. Second one. My partner's grabbing my lapel. That's it, here, like so. My right hand's reaching over the top and I'm collecting the blade of my partner's hand with my pinky. I want to create a bend in my partner's arm and a drive forward so I get this circular shape in my partner's arm. I'll do this by reaching over with my rear hand and forcing this bend in the arm. I come over the top, I create this bend, and then I drive my center forward. Think about pointing my partner's fingers to their nose this way. Yeah, sorry. So if my partner were to do that to me, sit here, they reach their right hand over the top, that's it, collect the blade of my hand, they create a bend in my arm with their fingers, that's it, and then they drive their weight forward, that's it, here, awesome. I mean, that hurts so much, right? Yes, 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 nice. Awesome, very nice. Again, yes, yes. Beautiful. My cameraman Shrav was curious and wanted to feel the techniques for himself. The mechanics of Nikyo are phenomenally strong. I use these mechanics to finish wrist locks from everywhere. However, hitting it traditionally off the lapel like this can be very difficult. In any case, the fundamental mechanics are extremely efficient and very painful.
Sorry.
That's okay. I don't believe him after a while.
That's it.
It comes on surprisingly fast.
Yeah. Last technique for today is iriminage. Iriminage means entering throw. In Aikido, you see a lot of people calling this technique ineffective because of the way that you see it commonly done. However, the principles of entering, controlling your partner's head are super applicable to a variety of martial arts. So, in Aikido, if you just put your hand up like this, like a zombie, that's it, other hand? Yes, perfect. I would be bringing my partner's hand to the side and attacking the chin. In the context of Jiu-Jitsu, you could be doing it with an arm drag, so I'm going 1, 2 to enter in on the position, and then I'm collecting my partner's head. Because my partner has got experience, right, and base and posture and years of training and whatever, if Samuel just steps back here, it's really hard for me to take him out in this position. So you would need something in the context of grappling to stop your partner's legs, right? This could be a hand on the back of the leg or your foot to stop your partner's lower body while you're attacking the head. So if my partner's doing it to me, it'd be an arm drag. Sit here, arm comes to the chin, there's something, yes! Blocking my lower body whilst he's taking my head off the center line. If you do it with the leg, so yes, that's it, yes, nice, good. 1, 2, attack, yes, nice. Very nice. Sorry I missed the hand, Sammy.
That's all right.
You can put your leg behind and then you can throw me a bit now, cool. Jesus, Sammy.
Sorry. Is that right?
Yeah, that was perfect. That was perfect. I then took Sam through some of the finer details of the techniques to make sure that he could apply them correctly, as well as looking at some situations on how these techniques would be applied in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu setting. We also discussed the principles on how Aikido and Jiu-Jitsu are similar, such as moving with your partner, using your partner's reaction against them, circular movements, knowing when to be soft and when to be heavy. This way Sam could embrace the principles of Aikido in his Jiu-Jitsu. I gave Sam one more bonus technique, which resembles Aikido's Shihonage. Right, so what I do is I grab the wrist, I go 2 thumbs on the back, and I do like kind of a bolo roll over my shoulder this way here. If you just keep base so don't fall, I go underneath here and I'm creating this bend in the arm. Yeah. Yes, and now turn the shoulder. Yes. Awesome. Koregaishi, Nikkyo, Iriminage, Shihonage. Sam is warming up these techniques with a blue belt. Mind you, this handsome young gentleman is not just any blue belt. He's an Australian national champion and a super tough roll. Sam starts getting a feel for the position before hitting a beautiful iriminage, only he's using the hand on the lapel. Here you can see him pop the grip and attack a koregaishi. Beautiful. He does this a couple of times just to prove how effective the technique really is. He also manages to pull it off from an open guard position like so. Beautiful. Here he takes the top position. Here you can see how effortless and technical Sam's passing is. He takes Angel's back and puts him out of his misery. Young Sammy finishes off the roll by hitting this arm drag into an iriminage. Beautiful. Iriminage, koregaishi, and some beautiful jiu-jitsu along the way. Black belt deathmatch, here we go. Sam is up against Lucky Dart, aka the Poison Dart. A man who is not responsible for every injury in the academy, but he's either always nearby or involved somehow. Sam hits a beautiful variation of Nikkyo the wrist lock and Kosoto Gake from Judo, utilizing the pressure on the wrist and an outside trip to take his partner down. Beautiful, spontaneous martial arts. Sam gets right to passing from the top position. Sam has the ability to make you feel like you don't know any jiu-jitsu. Passing Lucky Dart's guard is no easy feat, yet Sam makes it look effortless, despite Lucky rolling at a relatively chilled pace. Here, Sam gets a Kimura trap and finishes with a beautiful gooseneck wrist lock. I have a phenomenally strong and sneaky way of finishing these gooseneck wrist locks using the principles of Nikkyo, but I'm saving that for a separate video. Comment what else you guys want to see and I'll hop to. Sam breaks Lucky's grip and attacks a beautiful koregaishi. You can see Lucky using the principles of Aikido by moving with his partner to wrestle up and takes Sammy down to the bottom position. beautiful from both parts. Aikido isn't just fancy wrist locks, it's circular movements, extension, projection, base, a variety of different principles. It's awesome to see both of these practitioners using these principles of Aikido at such a high level. Witness the connection, center, and circular movements in this technique here. How many principles of Aikido can you name in your grappling practice? Sammy is a man who is never in danger. You can see he clears himself and reverses the position back onto Lucky Dart, submitting him. Here you can see Samuel pulling off a beautiful iriminage. He feints the single leg on one of Lucky's legs, making him step back, exposing the other leg for a knee tap and iriminage. Here you can see Sammy pull off a shihonage, and then uses Lucky's momentum against him to do a sort of arm drag butterfly sweep. Here you can see Sammy do another shihonage, but this time he comes up and attacks a beautiful iriminage. The principles and technique of Aikido here are numerous. I'm proud, Sammy. This has put Samuel back on top, working his usually flawless passing. However, Lucky Dart recovers his guard and pulls Sammy into a crab ride before attempting to take his back. Sammy shrugs Lucky off with a seiyonage, or in Aikido, it could be seen as an aikinage. Sammy continues to use Lucky's momentum in center to lead him through a number of throws before eventually taking his back, which to me is Aikido all day. Sam has to give the obligatory look at the camera to make sure that the cameraman indeed captured his proud seiyonage, which is the only technique that Sam continued to ask me about while I was editing this video. Lucky takes the top position and uses Sam's momentum to throw him with his newfound judo skills, before attacking an armbar. Sam, as I said before, is a man who is never in danger and escapes effortlessly, before dropping his level and attacking a double leg. The boys got a bit excited here and just finished off the round doing jiu-jitsu, which is not what I asked them. However, I feel satisfied with Sam pulling off his koregaishi, iriminage, nikyo, and shihonage. Good work, Sammy. I am proud. It's my turn for some Aikido Jiu-Jitsu. I just like to mention that Lucky is a lifelong martial artist who could end my days in a single kick. His openness and playfulness is a big reason why he's one of my favorite training partners. Here you can see me do a reverse seiyonage, which shares the footwork of irimi tenkan, a very basic Aikido taisabaki. Here I collect the blade of my partner's hands and I attack Aikido's sankyo. Irimi tenkan with my legs, reverse seiyonage to throw, knee cut, control the blade of your partner's hand, and then sankyo. Here you can see Lucky not wanting to grip fight with my hands as not to get wrist locked twice on camera, so I use that opening to get my grips and I attack Ouchi and Kouchigari. I get the same grip to attack the wrist lock from the knee cut, but this time Lucky defends sensibly and I use that defense to pass. He goes into turtle, I throw up a reverse triangle, I shoulder roll, and I start hunting the wrist again. Lucky defends the standing wrist lock. I use this to get my grips. I cross step, Ouchigari, Kouchigari, knee cut. I grab the hand to attack the wrist lock. Lucky defends, and I use that defense to set up my pass. This embodies the principles of Aikido all day of using your partner's reaction against them to upgrade your position. I throw up a reverse triangle, I do my shoulder roll, and here all day I hunt Aikido's sankyo again. I control the blade of my partner's hand and then finish with sankyo. Here we stand back up and you can see how experienced Lucky is as a striker because he could clearly pop my head off in an instant should he wish it. I get a grip on the lapel. I have this pathetic attempt of setting up a nikyo and Lucky defends it. I regrip the sleeve, fake a throw forwards and finish with tani otoshi. Look at this shameful attempt of a foot sweep, one of my favorite foot sweeps. I trip over my own leg and fall to the bottom position. The throw is supposed to look something like this. However, that evidently did not go my way. Lockie takes the top position and has this truly beautiful transition to the crucifix. Here, Lockie releases me from his grips because he knows it's all over. Here I have a quick revenge Osotogari because I'm an escalator, as my coach would say, and I use some circular movements to get back to the top after Lockie counters me. I've got a top grip here and I start setting up my judo techniques, and I stab step Uchimata. Lockie again rolls with the movements beautifully and takes me to the bottom position with a double leg. Truly beautiful. Here I attack a dirty wrist lock on the wrist to really bring some pain to my partner, and Lockie just decides to sensibly get out of there. Here I get up to stay safe. I touch a little foot sweep before attacking a Nikkyo. Here I put all of my weight through trying to break my partner's wrist, and Lockie just decides to roll out of it. I'm not going to replay that one because it's rather shameful. Here Lockie and I get back into a judo exchange, and I start hunting some Aikido techniques. Here you can see my left hand feeding a cross grip before taking a reverse wrestling grip. I touch Kouchigari and then attack Kotegaishi, a very high percentage way of combining Aikido and Judo. Lockie's being diligent about defending that lead hand, so I use a cross grip to get my wrestling grip, Kouchigari to off balance, Kotegaishi to finish. Lockie rolls through with it straight into his guard. Utilizing those principles of moving with your partner, Lockie starts swamping me in his guard. He sits me on my butt and starts attacking my back. I start to escape the back attacks, and Lockie adjusts for my position and establishes side control. I start building a guard recovery, here breaking Lockie's wrist on my chest. Sorry. We stand back up and go again to finish the round. Lockie starts playing with some Aiki bullshito on my wrist there, and I bail from the position, not wanting my wrist broken on camera. Here I start playing into my judo. I can't get a top grip with my right hand, so I cross step to make space, and I get a top grip. I feint Dashi and attack Uchimata. Nice little cross step to create an angle and space to upgrade my top grip. Little hip movement, fake Dashi, and attack Uchimata. I start chasing the back, I throw my top hook in, I start switching to a berimbolo. I roll through and fail the technique miserably, landing in a leg entanglement. Lockie goes to attack a toe hold and then kindly releases me from his grip, knowing that he could have broken my foot there. I get a top grip and I attack a hanegoshi. Lockie rolls me through and takes the top position, which he deserves. He then does a butterfly sweep on me beautifully and starts attacking my arm. We stand back up, I start feinting the cross grip, and then I enter for an irimi ski using an osotogari hook with my legs. It's essentially judo's osotogari, but we're using the palm on the bottom of your partner's chin to drive their head backwards and throw them. Many principles of Aikido shown, but only really a few clean techniques. This little kouchi to kotegaishi, and this irimi ski osotogari, and these two little sankyos. Not bad for a 5-minute roll. Utilizing Aikido, Judo, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in one unique style. And showing that the techniques and principles are indeed everywhere.
How does it feel, man?
It was awful, to be honest. He doesn't need that. He's hard enough rolling with his jiu-jitsu. So stop teaching him that stuff, please, Luca. I've been training for 17 years, and I mean, it's so underrated to just look outside of what you're doing and try to find something else that can build onto your game that's already, that kind of mentality of leaving no stone unturned.
I think it's easy to dismiss something that looks a bit silly on a video, but it actually shares principles with things that really do work. So, and I think there was sometimes I found it really difficult to get hold of it, but then there was sometimes I found it a little bit easier. I saw the timing of it and it worked really well. So for example, a few times when I inverted, I could feel that I got a bite.
I have never met a high-level martial artist with a closed mind. Every single art has its place depending on what you place its objective on. Aikido is an extremely effective martial art if your value is happiness, health, mobility, resilience, anything that contributes to refining your character, body, or spirit. Then Aikido is as powerful as any martial art. If you're studying it in a martial context, then all you need to do is keep an open mind and explore what does work for you and doesn't. Most Aikido dojos fail to teach an effective style due to the way the martial art is trained rather than the techniques being trained. But most Aikido dojo that I've visited have been just about studying the art of peace and refining their spirit. For me, Aikido, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu to create a happy, healthy, strong spirit that is capable of doing anything. Keep an open mind, enjoy the journey, and keep on climbing the mountain. Os.
Yeah. All right, yep.
What's your name, Sonny?
I've got it all up.
Wait, actually,